biggest thing for us this week, of course, is to get rested and get healthy. Anticipate Kevin Hogan being closer to 100% next Thursday night. We'll take it easy with him. A lot of rehab, a lot of rest, which is what ankles need, and hopefully looking forward to him having a regular week of practice starting Saturday, which would be our quote-unquote Monday type day. Still anticipating Kevin Anderson possibly missing this game as well, most likely. Going well, but we want to be overly cautious there. Anticipating Nate Lone being ready for the game. Both Aziz and Brendan Scarlett made it through the game last week very healthy. So I think that's it. But the big thing for us is, getting some guys back healthy and preparing for next Thursday night.
Does this bye come at a good time for you, or would you rather have it 3 or 4 weeks or 2 weeks down the road?
I think it's coming at a great time for us right now. Once again, just talking on the defensive line, having one guy miss last week, and if we played this Saturday, would probably be back, but may be questionable.
Who's that?
Nate, Nate who missed last week and may be questionable for this week if we had to play Saturday. And Brendan Scarlett and Aziz too, both guys would probably play again, but just an extra week, just to have the bodies on the defensive line, guys, for them to be fresh. And another week for Kevin, I think, would be great. He would play again next Saturday, but it's nice to know that if we take a little bit more time, he might be closer to 100%.
What's the schedule like this week?
We practice tonight and tomorrow, and then give the players off the next couple of days. Coaches are going to go on the road recruiting, and then we come back Saturday for kind of an intro to UCLA and start our UCLA week.
Are you going on the road too?
I am, yes.
Where can we tell us where you're going?
I'm going to Southern California. I'll say that. A couple places.
And how is it different if you had a true bye? How much more time off would the players have?
At least probably 2 more days. On the front end and the back end. Another day on the front end and the back end. We'd also practice another day. Like we didn't practice last night. So a typical bye, we'll practice three practices and then give guys the extended weekend. But this week we're only going to practice 2 days and then give them 2 more days on the back end. Nothing on Sunday, no practice last night. It's really 2 days without practice, 2 days of practice, 2 days without practice, and then back into a normal week.
Do they get any extra time on the other side of the game since it's 9 days?
Yes, so they'll get an extra day on the backside, actually an extra 2 days, because we'll get them off Friday and Saturday. The guys that play in the game, of course, will have to check in just to make sure they're doing okay physically the day after the game. And then we won't, their typical day off is Sunday, so they'll get Sunday off, they'll get Saturday off, and then we'll come back Monday after that.
Thursday night games are great exposure for your program in Pac-12. Coach Moore has got back-to-back Thursday night games and kids have to miss classes. How is that a catch-22?
It's what's not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to happen. When you have a Thursday night game, you're supposed to be able to have a couple days on the front end like we did and a couple days on the back end. And he's not getting those. And so I echo his sentiments. It's not supposed to happen. And there are some scheduling things that, because of TV, we have to do the things we have to do. All you guys know in the room, what we did a couple weeks ago, going from a late night game at USC to a late night game on the road at Oregon State, you wouldn't choose to do those things, both from the student athlete standpoint and coaching standpoint. Those are difficult, but to play a Thursday and then not get those extra couple of days to rest your guys for the following Saturday, I agree. I don't think it's good.
Considering it, we hear that Keller Chris got like 3/4 of the snaps, first team snaps last week. I don't know whether that's correct or not, but correct me if I'm wrong. But considering the fact that he got in the game first, played.
Well, I didn't tell anybody that Killer Chris got 3/4 of the snaps, so that didn't come from me,
Okay,
and so
well-
I'm not gonna concern myself with something somebody else said. I think that the Keller came in the game and did a great job. We had a couple more things for Ryan Burns that we didn't get to, but Ryan ran the end of the game, which was great. Did a great job with the kills and the audibles. So I think both guys are continuing to get ready to play.
I guess there's two questions then. Is Keller getting most of the snaps for the backups? And secondly, is he the number 2 quarterback at this point?
It's fluid. Both are fluid.
After the pancake block he laid out, is he an honorary offensive lineman now?
When a quarterback does that, he gets a lot more respect in the room. So the big guys like to see that. Christian was really fired up, hit him in the head a couple times, which is not advisable, but they were all really excited. And he's a tough kid. He's a great athlete, and proud of him for how well he played in the game.
On that play, considering that he laid out the first kid and actually blocked the second kid, is that the way you drew this play up? I mean, he's a big kid. I mean,
Absolutely.
You guys knew he could block like that?
Well, we knew he was a physical kid. He was a tough kid, and we put the play in. He was excited and wanted to do it. And then was able to run the ball 2 other times, 2 other designed runs. And we told him flat out, it's going to be you and the free safety. And both times, no fair dodging. He ran right at the free safety and tried to lower his shoulder. That's just how he plays the game. That's how he played in high school. That's the way he plays. He's not going to shy away from contact. He's a big, strong athlete, and he gets excited about those plays. So it was good to see him go out there and execute it.
And that touchdown pass, the fade is not the kind of pass that's an easy throw. And so, so I guess he's been doing that pretty well at practice.
Yeah, and Rollins Stallworth, and we did it with Rollins a couple of years ago. Rollins got a knack for it, and it didn't work in games a couple of years ago. And he's tall, he's got long arms, and a really good vertical. It was a great ball. It was a ball that gives him a chance to make a play, and both those guys did a great job there. But and just to say it, I mean, that was a run pass option play. It was 3rd down. We're going to run the ball. They loaded the box. It was a 9-man box. So we checked the pass and threw it to, so it wasn't an attempt to necessarily run up the score as much as it was to call a play that's in our game plan. And he recognized it and saw that we're going to hand the ball off against 9 guys, and he took the one-on-one outside.
At the risk of asking a stupid question, is there any chance that Kevin's ankle has actually made him a better quarterback for the last 10 quarters because it has made him more patient?
Oh, I've teased him about it.
Oh, you have?
I teased him about it. I said we should have kicked him in the ankle early last year. No, he's been that way before the ankle. Once again, we all had a bad game early on, but after that, that's the way he's been. That's the way he played against Central Florida. That's the way he played ever since that first game. It's the way he was all the way through training camp. He's got a calm about him. All the ankle's done is kind of slowed him down a little bit as a runner. But as far as his pocket mechanics, he's been outstanding in the pocket.
Coach, I know Garnett and Murphy obviously are outstanding players, but can you see even progress this year in their play on that side of the line?
Oh, absolutely. I think Josh in particular right now is playing on an extremely high level. He's our player of the game on the offensive standpoint. He's so big, he's so physical, he's so athletic. Getting out on screens, he has the athletic ability to hunt those smaller guys down and get on them. And as a puller, he's doing a great job on linebackers. And I probably had about 4 or 5 pancakes this past game. And at the line of scrimmage, double teams between he and Kyle have been outstanding. Kyle's got length and athleticism. Both guys are, prototypical guys you're looking for at those 2 positions, and they're both playing at a high level.
Would you say that Josh is as adept at pulling and hitting guys in space as, say, David DeCastro is?
You know, that's rarefied air, you know, and I think that's what Josh would aspire to be, very similar to Castro. Josh is bigger than David. Athleticism is similar. You know, it's tough to say. I mean, I think Josh's got to play some more games before we put him in that category. Just at least finish out the season. That DeCastro was truly special, and the reason why. And guards don't go midway through the first round, and David did. And but I think Josh is nipping at his heels as far as being able to be that consistent and play at a high level for an entire season, which is, you know, we're 5 games in. But Josh has a high ceiling, and he's not there yet. He's going to keep getting better.
Have you had any conversations with Glenn Milburn about McCaffrey by any chance?
In passing one time last year, it wasn't really even a conversation. But just in high school, it's what he looked like. He's not a big guy, but runs like a big guy. Physical, tough between the tackles, but then gets out in space and makes people miss, and has a lot of juice and speed. I said it one time in passing to Glenn, but nothing serious. But then this past year in the offseason, when Christian said he wanted to change to number 5, I kind of chuckled because that was Glenn's number. And, you know, the guys have seen Glenn's highlights because Glenn was an honorary captain for us. And they're very, very similar to what Christian does. So just in me, in my experience, I chuckle sometimes because I think they are similar players.
The number thing was just a coincidence.
Complete coincidence. Christian just wanted number 5, and it was available, and he took it. And like I said, I chuckled.
Glenn,
The reason I mentioned him is there's only 4 guys who have ever been average over 200 in the Pac-12, and he's one of Glenn is one of them. And of course it's early, but McCaffrey's on that level now and leading the nation. Did you anticipate anything like this from him? I mean, you knew he was good, but
At some point, yes. Yes. Once again, just going back to the recruiting process, and I remember the first time I met Christian. He was on campus with his family and his older brother, who's now at Duke, Max, and met Christian, and not the biggest guy, especially to stand next to 6'5" Ed, and you know, but we saw his young film, which was good. We saw the junior film, which was really good. And then by the time he got to senior year, it was just phenomenal. And you watch a guy that there's nothing on the football field that he can't do. As a runner, he's tough and physical and has finishing speed. He's got outstanding hands. He's a great route runner, whether it's in the slot or outside as a receiver. He can return punts. He can return kicks. If we needed to, he could punt. He could kick off. He's just one of those guys. And the more we watched him, and I wasn't sure how much we'd play him as a freshman, if he was going to redshirt, and me and his family had talked about it. And I'll never forget, Ed came to our last scrimmage last year before we started the season, and I grabbed him and let him know there's no chance your son's redshirting. So if I redshirted your son, there might be a revolt on this football team. He's got to get on the field, and he's got to start getting used to college football. And because we saw it every day. We see it every day. He's got a special skill set. He's got a fire in his belly to be great, and you see it and feel it every day.
Glenn wasn't as good between the tackles as Christian, though, right?
You know, Glenn had a knack. If the play started between the tackles, somehow it ended up on the sideline and him running up the sideline. So he would navigate the middle and then find a space and find a place to go.
you had a couple of bad snaps in this game. Schuler's had that problem before too. Does it bother you?
Yeah, because it shouldn't happen. Talked to Coach Bloomgren the other day, and there's a couple of things that we think we can help with that. Just getting more consistent there, and it's cropped up a little bit here and there, but Thankfully, Kevin's been able to get those things up and get his eyes back where they need to be. But we got to be more consistent with those shotgun snaps.
Coach, I know they play different positions, but do you see any Zach Crockett and a guy like Ramon Wright, considering him getting those short yardage carries and being able to convert in situations like those?
This is very, very similar. Very, very similar. I was in Oakland when we had that with Zach, and Zach was a full-time fullback until we got to 3rd and 1, and we had a bunch of running backs that were really good when I was there in Oakland. But in 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 and goal line situations, nobody's better than Zach. And Ramon, yesterday in the meetings was calling him the specialist. You put back-to-back all of his carries on 3rd and short and on the goal line, and they're all different. There are split-second decisions that he has to make, whether he's going to jump, or if someone's already jumping, he's going to jump this way or jump that way, or if he's going to stay on the ground and go underneath, or he's going to have to cut inside one, cut outside another one, and then burrow for the first. Those are things that are hard to teach because we can't tell him where guys are going to be. He's got great vision. He's got great balance. He's got great body control. He's got very powerful legs, and he's decisive. And he's got a knack. He's got a knack for doing those things. And, Christian recognizes it as much as he'd love to have more touchdowns as a runner. We get down inside the 5-yard line, and Ramon's got that desire not to be denied. And the guys recognize it, and they know he's the specialist in there.
A week or two ago, you were talking about the statistics that you value the most, like 3rd downs, 1st downs, percentages, and things like that. One of it was turnover ratio, and you're having a great year so far, but you don't have a great turnover ratio. How much does that concern you?
It does, and it has. I mean, really, you look back at our recent history, even with the success that we've had here, we still haven't had that turnover ratio. We've gone through times where we turn it over a little bit. We haven't been big turnover machines, but we haven't gotten a lot of turnovers either. And I know that's been an emphasis for us on defense, is that there are times where we make our games really, really hard by not taking advantage of the opportunities that we have. We play great defense, but doggone it, we've dropped too many interceptions. There are too many times the ball gets pulled out and their guy falls on it instead of our guy falling on it. Sometimes it's just the way the ball bounces, but we keep working on it, and we need to get those turnover plays. We'd love to get a pick six. We'd love to get a scoop and score for a touchdown. Those are the things that have eluded us that we need to have to take the pressure off our offense for driving 60, 70, 80 yards every time. And we need some of those short fields, whether they come in special teams, like we had a couple this past game, or they come on defense, whether we score on defense or set up a score by getting a turnover. So it does concern me because, it's hard to consistently drive, all that distance to get points every time you need points.
Holder nearly had a pick on a deep ball that Boyd broke up. So he would have had, I don't know, I couldn't tell.
Oh, he wanted it to. He wanted it to. And that's hard. And because Dallas made the plays that he had to make. He could get there. If he could get his hands on it, hopefully he could get an interception. If you can tip it away, you always tip it away. You never want to let it go and just give a DB a chance to make a play because it might go against you also. So, but Elijah was in great position, and that's what was good to see is two of those deep balls were on Elijah, and he was in great position to defend both of them.
Recruiting-wise, approximately how many scholarships are you planning on having available?
That's always very flexible. And once again, I'm the biggest, proponent for the 5th-year deal, and if we have some guys that are 4th-year guys going to have a 5th year that our backups want to go play someplace else, that always changes that number. So you never know. We may have guys that have another year of eligibility that want to move on to the next level. So it's always hard to put a number on that. But I will say this: we hardly ever use all of ours anyway. We always have 1 or 2 extra, which hopefully we can give to walk-ons, like we did this past year with 2 guys. We put them in our pockets and wait them, push them for next year. And I think we talked about this over a year ago. I think that's one of the things that has helped us with the new regime starting in really 2007, which we don't feel compelled to get all those scholarships out there, just to get them out there. If we don't have the guys that we're looking for, hey, we'll save that scholarship for a year or 2 years and look for the guys that fit us, as opposed to trying to find someone that maybe isn't the caliber football player that we need, but can get into school. You know, we need both. We don't just want the smart guys that can't play football. So we're always less scholarships than we're allowed to have.
Have you sensed, because I know everything is getting earlier and earlier, have you sensed that admissions understands the situation, is willing to work with you guys?
Oh, no, they understand the climate of what's going on, but we'll never sacrifice what Stanford's about. I think it puts the pressure on the coaches more than anybody to go out and find these guys at a younger age, midway through high school, sophomore, junior year, to start them on that academic path that leads them to Stanford. So I think we've done a good job in the last couple of years of getting the word out to some of these guys and getting guys to start taking AP courses as juniors. So their first AP courses in their senior year, or as sophomores will be even better. Get them ready to take an early SAT, early ACT, get a test score, and then take it again. So it falls on our shoulders as coaches to convince these guys as they come to camp and talk them through the process of how they can get here, so that, okay, it is time, I have to make an early decision. Now I'm in good academic standing for a place like Stanford. You know, some guys can even get admitted, you know, before the school year starts their senior year, if they've done all the right things up until that point. So, yeah, it's a new world. It's a different world, and our people understand it. And we won't change our standards, but at the same time, some of those decisions need to happen earlier. So we need to make sure we have enough of a pool of guys that are ready to make those decisions early.
Would you like a early signing day?
No.
No.
How often do you offer scholarship after we track it because admissions didn't?
It's you know, retract is a harsh word. There are guys that go down an academic path and they don't get admitted, and that's going to happen every single year for a few, and that's just where we are. And our admissions, especially with our graduation rate, they've been right. They've choose the right guys that have an opportunity to have success here. I think our coaches have done a really good job to make sure every year that number gets lower and lower and lower of the guys that are denied, just because, you know, we're able to be more selective. There's some guys that we start the recruiting process on, you know, late sophomore year, early junior year, and by the time the end of junior year comes around, it's not admissions, it's us letting them know, you know what, you're not going to make it. You're not going down the right path. You know, you're probably going to need to choose someplace else. So we as coaches need to be selective. We can't just recruit everybody and throw them all to admissions and say, give us who you want to give us. We understand what admissions is looking for, and if the young man's not going down that right path academically, we have to be able to cut the cord and move on to somebody else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach.